Mrs. Dineno?
Here.
Ms. Jones?
Here.
Mr. Holton?
Here.
Mrs. Burdick?
Here.
Chairman Yem.
Are there any corrections to the minutes that were emailed to you?
I make a motion that we accept them as written.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded that the minutes be approved as email. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The minutes are approved. We now go to citizen input. When you come to the microphone, be sure to give your name and address, and you can address the panel with whatever subject you have. Anybody have citizen input?
Hi, I'm Shotzi LaJoy. I live at 3635 Flamingo Drive in Vero Beach, and I am here on behalf of the Indian River Rowing Club. And I think before you have a copy of a letter that was sent to Daniel Thomas, who's on the Marine Commission. We've been working on trying to locate another site to build a community paddling facility. And as you see, we have an aerial map of another location that is in McWilliam Park. On, I think it was May 13th, we had a meeting with the Marine Commission, and we had members, the president of the dog park, Phil Reed, was there, and in our support, and youth sailing also in our support, and brainstorming a way to see if there was some land that we could possibly use to build a facility that would be north of the Barber Bridge. Our concern right now is that although we have a nice place to row out of it, the treatment plant, there's some major weather issues that we have half of the time. It's unrollable because of the wind. And it's great for sailing, and youth sailing is relocated there, and it's perfect for them. And for us, it's perfect part of the time. And the kids, as you know, we have had large success with our youth program. We had over 45 children this year rowing competitively. Our summer row program included a middle school segment to it, which is very successful, and we've just hired a new director who will be implementing a junior middle school program along with the high school. In order for our sport to be successful, it's hours on the water, and it's rowable hours on the water, and it's safe conditions. And I think that north of the Barber Bridge, because the intercoastal is intertwining all of the spoil islands, there's a lot of water, calm water, that we can use for training, and we can pretty much guarantee if it's not lightning out that we can get everyone on the water. I know that most of you know that Boston College has been down here for the last 3 years. They park their boats right where we want to build our boathouse, and they row north of the Barber Bridge most of the time. In our discussions with the city, we met with Jim O'Connor and Tim McGeary, and I think Rob was at our meeting, and they wanted us to slate a meeting with you to see if you had any concerns or any questions about this particular site, about the community rowing facility in general, and I think that's why we're here.
Shotzi, I'm having a terrible time with the map. Help me.
Okay, you know where the volunteer ambulance building is? Yeah. Okay, that's the white building up at the top. And then if you go west, that would be down. That's where we would want to be.
Oh, I see. So
it's on the other side of the basin. Across.
The entrance dog park is up here.
Yeah, so the Bethel Creek, or the the River House, that's across this little body of water on the other side of it?
Yeah, the River House would be right over here.
Yeah.
Along with the dog park would be over there.
Okay. And the ball field's over here, that's right. And the dog park's all around that.
Okay. Shotzi, I had a couple questions, too. The boat ramps there are well used.
Right.
And is there going to be any safety issues with the boats coming in and going out, the motorboats, power boats, and you trying to launch and do everything in that small basin area?
Well, again, this is something that I think we've always talked about, is that rowing takes place very early in the morning, and then it takes place from about 3 o'clock until 6 o'clock. And that's the time when there isn't any activity going on. But yes, of course, we're always going to have to work with anyone else who is coming in and out of that area. Almost all the rowing clubs in the country have that issue. So this is just something that's, that's just something that we take on like any other rowing facility would.
Mm-hmm. Those are just palm trees in there? There's no oak trees?
Yeah, it's all palm trees. There's no oak trees. We did meet with St. John's. There's no mitigation issues. We've already preliminary talked about docks, and all of that really is going to be formalities. If we go through the proper steps, we're going to be okay with that.
And all the white parking markings, those are proposed?
That's proposed, and we want to put impervious parking. Pavers? Pervious? Oh, sorry. I'm not an engineer. All the engineers are sitting in the audience.
Shotzi, because we live close by to this park.
Right.
If we have heavy rain, this area is almost totally flooded all the time.
Right, and that's why we had St. John's come down last week.
Okay.
And had a long discussion with them, and we will have to solve a few problems, but it's not impossible.
Okay.
And so, I think as long as we comply with them and their drainage issues and, then retention ponds and all that.
So this is going to be leasing this land?
We are going to see if we can lease the property.
And then
we'd have to have a campaign for a building campaign.
Is your building the same proposal that you had said before with a banquet room on the top?
It's a 2-story building. I think we're going to have facilities upstairs. I don't know if we're going to do. I think last time it was we were going to try to tear down the river house and build a building, and we were trying to figure out how we could accommodate that. That wouldn't be our problem. So maybe our upstairs doesn't have to be as big. But we haven't addressed that. But that was one of the issues the city was having with us, and so of course, we're going to do whatever we need to do. I think in order to satisfy the community need.
Is there boat storage somewhere on this?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
If you look at this page here, this is the first floor, and they're like 4 long garages, and on each side you'd have boat storage.
Okay, and then you would utilize the second floor for your offices?
Offices, showers, meeting rooms, video rooms, erg, for the kids to row, the rowing machines.
The parking that you have designated here, would you be using that parking, or is that for the fisher people that come in and park their trailers? Because don't they use that on a good weekend? Don't they fill that up?
Again, rowing they do, but
They don't use this side. They're on the other side.
For the most part.
for the most part they're over by the ball field.
Mm-hmm.
But that parking would be available for anyone who wanted to use it and us, because once you put the parking in, it's like that parking over by the ball field's used by everybody.
Yeah, true.
Mm-hmm. And I'm sure there might be a rower parking over by the river house one day for some reason, and someone over by the dog park parking over there. I think it's a community lot. We will be improving the whole area and then adding some parking along the side that people don't park in right now.
Okay.
But it's usually not used over there.
Well, it's kind of mucky there too a lot of the time. So
Right.
if you're going to have to deal with that.
I I think, that was one of the things that we were looking at, is we had to figure out what we were going to be needing to do in order to build on that space. And after we met with St. John's, they pretty much told us what we needed to do. And so in order to put the parking in, we have to make sure that we work with the water issues. So it wasn't our first pick, obviously, because there's higher ground on the other side, and it would have been much easier to develop because of the utilities and just the fill and the dryness of the land. But this is a nice location for us because it is secluded. The kids will be in one area, and that's good.
May I add something? to
Sure,
parking?
you can add anything you want.
Just don't want anybody to freak out about all those parking spaces. That's just kind of a conceptual.
You want to
kind
give
of
us
thing.
your
Tell them who
name
you are.
My name is Todd Young.
and your address?
I'm president of the rowing club. And this is just kind of a conceptual where parking could go. We don't have an actual number of how many spaces are required for this facility. So that's just kind of an idea of where parking could go. So it's not like we're putting parking everywhere in the entire piece of property. Okay?
Are
Todd,
there any other questions?
before you leave, Todd,
Yeah.
were you a member 3 years ago, back in 2012,
Yes, sir.
when you made the presentation here? What kind of changes are you working on in the last almost 3 years?
In the past 3 years, we've moved from Fellsmere to Vero, and we've gone from 4 boats to 17 boats.
Oh,
we have
so
an actual
there's more
employee.
boats than you were putting here 3 years ago. So it's grown that much?
It's grown since then, and then we have a youth team now. So we've done quite a bit of growth here since we've been here.
So you need more space
To continue to grow,
for building it.
right?
Is this
And to keep the
affiliated
boats.
with the high school program?
Yes, ma'am.
is the high school.
Yes, it
Oh,
is, yeah.
okay, because I know they won the state title in their first year.
Yes. Yep.
Yes. I think I just want to expand on your question. When we were in Fellsmere, we would have Learn to Rows. We'd try to bring the community up there, and we found that it was impossible
Yeah, I
to,
remember.
to attract the youth and to attract the adults to be able to learn and enjoy the sport of rowing. So what the club decided to do, seeing that the club's mission is to offer this sport to the community, we started to look for land that was closer in, so that number one, youth was our number one goal, so that we could start a youth program, because Sebastian and St. Ed's both have rowing. Rowing is very important for scholarships for women, and in the state of Florida, middle school rowing is the fastest growing sport.
It is.
Yes, it is. And it's not offered here in Indian River County, and with all the water that we have, and we have visiting colleges looking at Google Maps, picking our spot for rowing, and our community doesn't even have a rowing facility. So Columbia has been rowing here in Indian River County for 30 years. Nobody knows that.
So is what you're asking for from us a recommendation to go forward to City Council?
Yeah, that's exactly what we're doing. Is we would like you to recommend them pursuing whatever they needed to do in order to find out if it was feasible to do this for the community.
I'm going to throw out a few things too, Bobby.
Yes, I was going to ask.
Just so
what I'll
Shotzi can give us some clarification too, because she explained they explained this at our meeting, but I want her to explain it to you guys as well. The percentage of times to row at your location, you mentioned the wind. Could you tell them how often? Remember how much? It's almost 50% that you're unable to row, correct?
Yeah, it's 50%.
Because the winds and the tides and everything else, correct?
And for high school rowing, the big season is the spring. And what happens in the spring? What do we call the winds, sailors? What do we call them? The northeasters, don't we?
Nor'easters.
And we are on the western side of the river. And if you looked at the waves, and we don't have any way to launch the boats in those waves, and actually they could crack because they're so fragile. So that's an issue for us.
The other question I think that would be thrown out is the building itself is 8,000 square foot, correct?
Correct.
The other thing is from your map that you had, that 100-foot wide entry, is that an entryway? So that's not going in where the boats go in, am I correct?
This right here?
100 foot?
That's where the boats would go in.
Yeah, that's
You guys would go in, correct?
right.
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
It's like 4 big garages.
On your map,
Yeah, I heard them out.
100.
Oh, that's
your
Oh,
entrance.
no, that's a floating dock.
that's a floating dock. That's where the boats
That's
would be
where you're
putting
going
the
to
water.
enter, though.
Yeah.
Right.
Water.
So you would not interfere directly with where the boats go in now.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, and FYI, that's
Clear
information
space,
for you guys.
Right.
Correct. The other thing I think that I know that Dan or Dick would ask would be, what specifically are you looking at from a lease agreement from the city?
We're looking for a lease that will allow us to build this structure.
Right.
We're looking for a lease that it's going to allow us to maintain the structure for a long
And
period of time.
Would you pay rent? I think that's what he would be asking you.
I think it'd be the standard lease.
I think we would,
agreement.
yeah, I'm,
Looking at just, I'm just going to, I know how Dick's going to come to the question is, are you looking for a $1 deal? That would
well,
be his
you would
question.
start it then, I'm sure. We're a 501(c)(3). Our boats are very expensive, to build the boat, all of that. So, we would of course have to take any deal that was put on the table for us and consider it. And of course, we would like a deal that everyone else has gotten in town.
Yeah, well, Jim O'Connor would say there are no more $1
Right,
a year leases.
right,
And,
right.
and we just renewed the lease with Power Squadron. Yeah, and it wasn't $1 a year. And the dog park's not $1 a year.
Right.
So
Right.
it's,
Right. Well,
expect that.
Well, obviously, we have to go into negotiations with the city.
Right.
And so we are going to do what everyone else has to do, and that's going to
And this is going to be a
negotiations.
benefit to the city, and everybody recognizes that. So I
The
think,
tourism, just that alone. I'm sorry.
yeah, you're right.
One
And I
last
think the idea
question.
that they're looking for is that you approve the concept or the idea of
Right.
this.
Yeah, if there aren't any more questions, I'll make that motion.
I had
Any other input from the public that wants to speak
has a
on this issue?
I had one more question,
Okay.
and not to be nosy, but does the club have the financial wherewithal that once this gets started, you'll be able to finance, the completion of it?
Yes, yes. Yes. But yes, and yes, he's going to talk.
But yes and yes.
My name is Chris Ryan, and I reside at 1985 Mooring Line Drive in Vero Beach. I'm the finance chairman for the club, and so I can speak to this. We've been raising approximately $100,000 a year for boats so far. We've identified a number of people in the community that are ex-rowers, have children who are rowers, grandchildren who are rowers of substantial means. We're very confident that we're going to have the money for this boathouse. I've done this before. I did the boathouse in Pittsburgh where we had 0 rowers, and we raised almost $4 million for boathouse facilities over several years there to accommodate the growth of rowing in Pittsburgh, which it started out with no rowers at all. So I'm just saying that I feel very confident based on the support we've had so far, based on the indications of future support from people here in the community, that we will raise the money, we're talking about a couple $1 million for the boathouse here.
The facility that you're in now, are there buildings there that have to come down, or are you using existing?
Yeah, we'll take it down. It's a bridge. No, we're to the bridge.
Oh, you don't have it? I thought you had a storage building there.
We have a metal container where we keep a few things in, but it's we'll probably just sell that and get rid of that.
Where do you store the boats?
They're on racks in open air under the bridge.
Oh.
Yeah, it's not. It's in some ways it's good, in some ways it's bad, but it's not perfect, that's for sure. But it has allowed us to attract all the youth we've talked about, and we have a tremendous growing program.
Thank you.
Are there maintenance expenses that you see the city or involved in that they would have to take care of with what you're proposing?
We would be self-sufficient from an operational standpoint. I don't see asking the city for any money for anything other than whatever they normally do, sweep the streets out in front. But I mean, it's the model we typically work on is that we cover our operating expenses with user fees and some donations and so on. But I mean, basically, it's a sport that can pay for itself. I'll mention also, too, that the current issue of Rowing Magazine, which is the national rowing magazine for U.S. and for Canada, has several advertisements from Florida communities that are aimed at rowing tourism. And people do come from up north. There's hundreds of thousands of rowers who look for a place in the early part of the year, particularly, to train. Shotzi mentioned the high school season is very, very big in the early spring, and they have a very short window because they're all out of school by May. And where I live in Pittsburgh, where I used to live in Pittsburgh, you really couldn't even get on the water until April sometimes. So they're looking for places to come down and get on the water. There's a lot of them, hundreds of thousands.
Are you still having youngsters that are going to row build the boats they have? I can't remember the name of the organization, but there's an organization that helps the rowers build the boats.
That's the youth sailing. Yeah, a little bit different. The boats are a little bit different type of construction. It's these new boats now are so highly technical. They're all super expensive plastics.
Are they pre-built or?
Yeah, we buy them from manufacturers.
You want to tell them how long they are? Tell them how long they are.
Well, yeah, an 8 would be about 55 feet long.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
55 feet. Whew.
Is there anyone else who wants to speak on this issue from the public?
Thank you. My name is Charlie Pope. I'm the chairman of the Youth Sailing Foundation. I live at 2305 46th Avenue in Vero. And the way they've grown is unbelievable. And we need programs like this in Vero Beach because it's extremely structured. And we're short on that in many, many things today. And the kids need some structure. They need to be outdoors. And Chris knows sailing, so they're on what we call a windward shore, and they need to be on the other shore because they catch all the waves, the wind, everything, and they need to be on the other shore. They have a railroad container to store some smaller things in, but then they have big racks to store the 50, 55-foot boats in. And they launch right there in the river when they can, and during the season, when they can't, we laugh because that's when our little sailboats go out with the children. We have wind, and they don't like the wind, so we offset each other. But you were on the Recreation Committee when we were asking for something.
Back in 12.
Back in 12, yeah. I was just out of high school. And anyway, our little boats that the kids build are 8 foot long, wood, out of 3 sheets of plywood. And it's an option. Maybe they don't have the money for a boat, but we get a volunteer or a donor to build the boat. But the rowing club does add something very structured, and I can always remember the Boston College comes down in January or something maybe,
yeah.
And that's a big deal.
How long have they been coming down? We've heard about them for a few years.
Well, since they've been rowing, 3 years.
3 years?
So,
Wow.
And that's quite a thing for them. But the structure is what I lean on because our goal with youth sailing is to get kids away from video games, get them outside, get them structured.
Amen to that.
And we have a lot of problem with that today. And another thing that we put in our report card, and I don't know about your club, but for graduation or moving on up, is respect for equipment, being punctual, and attendance. And I think these are all something that Vero Beach. Oh God! I thought it was my pacemaker. I just turned it off. I thought.
Turn your video game off, Charlie.
So anyway, that's all I have, and I won't keep you past dinner. So anyway, thank you. Have any questions for me? Because we're on the same property they are, at the wastewater treatment plant. And we have a building leased over there that we've been in it 3 years now. And it's been very, very good for us to be where we are. And it's quiet, and the city's been a very good landlord. So, and I hope you can see the same for them, because we get along well. And we have a classroom for our kids. We let them use the classroom for their meetings for their kids, and it's been very well.
Thank you, Charlie.
The other question I know that Shotzi, I know that Mr. Yem would probably ask is, I know that you guys had looked at other sites in Indian River County. Could you just talk a little bit about that?
Yes, what we've done is we have had several meetings over at the Land Trust, and we've even actively tried to pursue land north of the Barber Bridge, and we haven't found any suitable land that they could partner with us on. They said if they could find some land that had already been built on, that they could figure out a way to accommodate us. So the last time we met with them, we started at the county line, the North County line, and we went down every single possible parcel that was either owned by the Land Trust or just there that was undeveloped, and talked about it because they know about it, and there wasn't anything. And we also brought that up to the city. And, that's basically what we're going to need, is we're going to need somebody that'd be willing to sell us the land, which the Land Trust is on every single piece of land that's available. They're always after the vacant parcels. And so we came, we're always talking to the city, and we're always talking to the Land Trust. So that's basically what we've done. And we went all the way down to Oslo Road to see, if there was anything. And, the problem, they own a lot of property. They will not allow it to be built on, because that's their mission.
Okay.
So that's an issue.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
With the increase in the number of boats, the proposed size of what you're looking for, will it be enough, or will it grow, and then in the next years, this will be too small?
I'm going to let Chris tell you how many boats we can really put in this facility that we're going to be building.
Yeah, I think you asked this similar question earlier about the size of the facility that we came to in 2012. Actually, it was the exact same size as we have now. And the reason for that is, I've been around. When I first built the Pittsburgh boathouse back in the 30 years ago, I went around the boathouse all over the United States, and I measured them. I measured the bay width, I measured the bay lengths, and I looked to see, which ones were cramped and which ones, obviously needed a little more length and so on. And I came up with the dimensions of the bays, which were eventually used in Pittsburgh, which we proposed here, for the 25-foot width and the 80-foot length. And that allows for some things to go in behind the boats, like oars and so on. So all these things are kind of a little bit of thought put to them. We also can go 5 or 6 boats high, so and on both sides of 4 bays. So and the smaller boats, we can put boats end to end. So the possibility is for a lot more boats than we have today. I mean, we're not planning for the 20 boats or 17 boats we have today. We're planning for a lot more boats. When we built the Pittsburgh boathouse, we thought we were done. That was the exact same size we're proposing this boathouse here. And within 3 years, we had to build another one of similar size, and then 10 years later, we built another one at double that. So we have $4.5 million worth of facilities there. It is a larger community. Now, also, I'd say on this site, there's room for expansion for storage. Okay, so I think that there's a possibility that if this would ever turn out to be inadequate, we have options for increasing the amount of storage space.
Then the capability is there.
It's not unlimited. It's not unlimited, but if there's the constant complaint with communities around the United States where they have boathouses, if you go to places like Washington D.C. and all these other places, is that people cannot find a place to put their boat, and so we do see that eventually there will be limitations, but that's a good thing. If we put something in which is becomes a scarce commodity, then that's a good thing for everybody.
Thank you.
I'll mention to you and anyone else, back in my real estate days, our main thing when it came to land in real estate was be careful with it because they don't make any more of it.
Yeah, yeah.
So, what,
Is the
whatever you
commission
find,
ready to make a
just have it all
recommendation?
worked out.
We asked the kids in the back, maybe they're rollers, they can give us their opinion of what.
We got a couple back there.
They're not rowers.
I think they're sitting in from the school, maybe.
Are you from Charter?
Well, I think we can do that. I would make the motion that this Indian River Rowing Club issue be forwarded to City Council.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Oh.
It's been moved and seconded that we send this matter to the council. Do you want to take a vote on that, Rita?
Okay, I have a question for you before you do that, because I
Okay.
know that they're going to be looking for a little more clarification. Sending it forward, are you in approval of the concept? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay, so that's what you want to put in,
You
Rita.
have that too.
There you
Can I
go.
just take an eye?
Just the concept.
Okay. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? The motion is carried. Thank you for coming and presenting it to us.
Thank you.
Nice to see you, Charlie.
See you in 2 weeks.
Okay, we'll move on to new business. Is there any new business to be brought before the commission? None? Old business?
Well, about the meeting we had, the power plant meeting, we were talking a lot about water usage there, and that's on the same side of the lagoon that these people were, and they weren't happy with the wind. I mean, should we not be looking at water usage in that location?
I think that what you're going to find out is that certain parts of around the power plant, and I think this was discussed also at the meeting, there's certain parts of the power plant area where you can enter different ways, shallow water or even deeper water around that facility itself. So I think the water component would be still definitely in play. The other thing is to let you know, is I know that Mr. Yem, what he wanted to let you guys know is that they're looking to have the next workshop. He had mentioned November. Mm-hmm. It's actually what they're looking for now, and I'm pretty sure I'm right on this, is December the 2nd. Wednesday, December 2nd at 6 o'clock, 6 p.m. And then he's also going to be looking at sometime in March or April for another one.
Since we had that meeting, have you been approached by anyone from the public about this issue?
No, not yet. I really believe that once this becomes a little bit more hot, because right now I think a lot of people are looking at the power plant as still the power plant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, bottom line is they're seeing it that way. But as some of the decisions are made, when those decisions are made, this will become a bigger, much, much larger issue. So I think we're getting closer there. I just think December, I think he was looking at December being a better time.
I think most people think that they're still under contract and that they're not getting out of it, is what most people say to me.
Right. And I think that what will happen is, we've got some more recognition meetings coming, and I think as we plug along here, we'll be able to ask the question of how it's going out there. I would ask the same question over and over again, Sue, every month. And when you have the city manager here, myself, you'll know if we're getting input, and then of course council members as well.
I don't know that this issue has been talked about at council, our involvement in this issue. I mean, I don't know how many people watch our meeting, probably not many,
I'd say you probably, I think you have thousands. I think thousands.
Yeah, right. But I'm just thinking perhaps, someone could let council know what we're doing, and perhaps a lot of people watch city council meeting. That might be a way of, getting the word out that we're interested in talking to people who are interested.
Well, the other thing I was going to say to you is, as you know, as a advisory group, the council does get all your minutes and does read up on you guys and reads your meeting minutes and the agenda and everything else. And public input, it may not be happening right here with me, but it may be out at an Oceanside business event or downtown business, or when you do the August, when we do the River House. You may start hearing people starting to just start talking about it and asking questions about it. And I see that as we move along here, it's going to become bigger and bigger. And I don't think you were around when we started the Dodgertown conversation, but once it got going, it was really, you had pretty close to a full chamber of people in here, and you will get that again. Mm-hmm. It's coming.
Yeah.
So, but I do think that publicity-wise and everything else, I don't think there's been a lot said yet because of what Bobby said and what we're all thinking right now. You still have a power plant that's doing that thing it does. So, but I do see the future, and the future is going to be interesting as we go forward. Right. And your December, again, your December meeting will be, as we get closer and closer, and once a decision is made, or when a decision is made, it may become extremely hot real quick. So.
Is there any other old business to come before the commission? Recreation Director matters?
Just to let you know, we had our Aerial Antics Circus, and it was Thursday, Friday, Saturday last weekend. And first show had roughly a couple hundred people come to the show, but the Friday and Saturday had about 400 people come to each of those shows, maybe a little bit more on Saturday.
Was that because of Pirate Fest, do you think?
No, honestly, I think that usually Thursdays are quietest ones. We only usually have one or two gymnastics programs perform, and it's usually the one that you kind of want to get going and get a nice groove and rhythm going, and then Friday and Saturday it's full steam ahead. And that's Friday and Saturday are also camp nights, so you get a lot of kids participating from summer camp. Overall participation levels, they had around 200 to 225 kids participate. As I said, you really roughly had about 1,100 to 1,200 coming through the doors to watch them.
That's good.
And it went very well. I go with my basic rule of thumb is I think the kids had a good time and no one got hurt. So all good. Everything else works its way out.
Is the camp still going on?
Camp ended last Friday.
You can mention the award that you presented again.
Well, we had 4 awards given out during the weekend. One was for an outstanding junior staff and 2 outstanding campers and 1 outstanding gymnast. And those awards were given out on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. In addition, the public city council meetings, to let you all know, it's still being discussed amongst a number of people regarding the budget. Just to let you know, our budget was approved with the one that we initially was approved at the budget workshop in July, and that just means that it was right now approved. But however, there are 2 meetings in September where the public will come itself and voice their opinions on what they would like to do with the budget overall. And
what are the dates of those
I can let you know that they are on September 3rd and September 15th,
and what time?
5:15 p.m. And I do believe the public will be out to talk about a number of different items. And I know that you've had a number of commissions and also the public themselves asking probably you guys along with the council and everyone else questions about different things in the budget. So,
and when they have those meetings, is this strictly for the recreation budget, or do they go down the line?
It's the entire budget, and basically what they will do is they will ask the public if they would like to come up and talk about the actual millage rate and what they're proposing at those 2 meetings.
Okay. Under Chairman's matters, since the chairman here, we can skip that. Does anyone on the commission have anything they need to contribute?
I wanted to say something. I was with a friend the other day over at the beach, and she mentioned to me, she's right around my age, and she mentioned to me how great it is that you can rent beach equipment now. You know, she's been ill, and schlepping a chair over there and an umbrella is, you know, not feasible. And she says it's just so great that you can go over there and rent a chair, rent a tent, you know, or an umbrella. And I think we did a good thing there. I mean, good for us.
That's great. I had a phone call from Scott from Sharkbait, and we're going to sit down and see if we can't move forward on maybe some other ideas in the long term. The other thing is could you remind everybody about the dedication again in August? About the River House?
I can. August 19th, I want to say, 9:30 in the morning at
the River House.
Bethel
Creek House. Bethel Creek House. My bad.
Dedication for the mural.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah.
Bethel Creek House.
Right.
August 19th?
9:30
a.m.
Okay. Anyone else? The next meeting is September 8th. Put that on your calendars. And if there's no other business, we stand adjourned.